Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the August 2nd meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Our thought for today is Psalms 25:19 through 21. See how many enemies I have and how viciously they hate me. Protect me, rescue my life from them. Do not let me be disgraced, for in you I take refuge. May integrity and honesty protect me, for I put my hope in you. And I have the dog from the kennel. What a treat we have today. Thank you. How many dogs do we have? 21. Oh, come on, you little cuteness. We have the cutest little puppy today, about 5 months old. She was found in Avon Lake. She's available today, so you can leave here, go down to the kennel, pick him up, take him home. Great personality, very friendly and loving. So come out to the kennel if you don't want a puppy and you want an older dog. We have 21 other dogs. Uh-oh, he's stuck. Uh-oh. 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 We got a nail stuck. No, it's on his paw. Oh, shit.
Just give him the sweater to play with, Lori.
There you go.
Didn't want to rip his toenail out. All right. Come down to the kennel or check us out on Facebook. We need your help. 21 dogs to choose from. Thank you. Come on. You have to have a lot of energy to have a puppy. So. Madam Clerk?
9:45, we have a presentation from Lorain County Reentry Coalition, unless you'd like to do it now. So here.
Is everybody here from your group? We can do that now. You want to come up to either this podium or this podium? Do you have a PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so you're going to probably be over here.
We're going to tag team it.
Okay, that's good.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Riske-Morris.
Yes,
and I'm Nicole Burns-Dertouzos. Thank you for having us this morning.
And I am the Lorain County Reentry Coordinator, and Nikki is our Offender Outreach Coordinator. We both work together, and essentially we kind of comprise the Office of Reentry, so to speak, for Lorain County Reentry Coalition. So we can start the PowerPoint. For today, we wanted to talk with you. We weren't sure if all of you, I know Lori has come to our coalition meetings, to talk to you about our Reentry Coalition and what we do in Lorain County, and the way that we help serve the needs of individuals returning from incarceration, both from jail and from the prisons, as well as helping individuals who have been out of jail or prison for several years, several months, but are still having difficulties. Our main purpose is to facilitate connection of services for them to help them reduce any of their barriers towards successful reentry. We're going to go through these slides relatively quickly, just because we wanted to give you a lot of information so that you can take it back with you. but we don't want to take up too much of your time because we know that you're busy. But essentially, our coalition was formed back in 2012. We have several goals. We have a mission statement, and essentially the primary purpose is to assist adult offenders and their families upon release from prison or jail and help them to succeed in our community. We find that many of these people that coming out have a significant number of barriers that they have to overcome and address. If they don't overcome and address those, they're going to go right back to prison. Helping an individual so that they can become a successful member of society helps reduce our costs in the prison and our criminal justice system. We educate them, we connect them with services. I kind of refer to us as a cog in a wheel. We have a lot of services and programs in Lorain County. However, some people don't know where they are, how to get those resources. The Reentry Coalition and the work of the Offender Outreach Program, we help connect everybody and keep everybody informed of what's available, what their options are. We have several partners. Our coalition meets every other month. When I first started as the Offender Outreach Coordinator, the coalition would have about 4 or 5 members. In the last several years, it's grown tremendously. We have the coalition meetings. They vary. We usually have different partners will sponsor the meetings. It's listed on our website about the meetings, and we encourage you to come and sit in one of our coalition meetings. But primarily, those are our main partners that have executed MOUs with our organization and serve on the coalition. We do have some of, Christine Robinson is here today. She's in the audience, and she is one of the co-chairs of the coalition, and she is with the DADAS board, sorry. All right, with the coalition, I mentioned about our history. We originally started with a grant that we received from the Bureau of Justice Assistance. That primarily started in 2013. Since then, we have been operating. When we originally started, we had the coalition, we met, and then we expanded to include an offender outreach program. I also gave you a copy of our logic model, which kind of shows what our long-term goals are, what our short-term goals, and what we seek to do in Lorain County to help build a really strong reintegration program for these individuals. Many of the short-term goals we have completed. Nikki brought, like for example, some of the pocket guides that we utilize, which provide resources for individuals. They get it when they come out of prison. It's a short thing. We did it with a pocket so they could stick it in their pocket, stick it in their purse. They have it with them all the time. Other counties have put like guides together, which are thicker, somewhat a little bit more burdensome sometimes when you're coming out with all your paperwork. But we did these pocket guides so that they have it, they need a shelter, they need any type of services, mental health, drug abuse counseling services, it's all listed on there. So we have those that we can give that to you.
Actually, I think they all have a copy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But again, these are some of our goals, and we're still continuing to look at those goals and try to make those connections that we can. In terms of accomplishments, like I said before, we have continued to expand every time we go to coalition meetings, the partners, the individuals out there. We get great reviews, especially the work of Nikki, and connecting and working with individuals coming out of incarceration and helping them know what they need to do, where they can get help. Also, the various organizations, learning from each other, what is available in Lorain County. I was really surprised. I was writing one of our grants that we try to seek funding. So I was writing one of the grants, and I was looking at, do we need to develop services in Lorain County? And I was really surprised. There are a lot of services in Lorain County to help these individuals, both in terms of mental health treatment and counseling services, drug abuse counseling services, counseling for cognitive thinking, behavioral change. We have a lot of services, parenting programs. The problem is people just don't know they're out there. They don't know what's available. We help work with them to bring that all together. In addition, we do have an offender outreach program, which is kind of like the majority of the work that we spend on a day-to-day basis. And since Nikki runs that, I'm going to let her reference that.
Okay. So this is just a general model of, again, this is a lot of information that you can look at your leisure, but generally speaking, Our offender outreach program has 3 components to it. The first part is that I reach out to individuals who are still incarcerated. Ideally, I am able to connect with people a year before they're released from prison and start their reentry planning. So what I do is I have contact with, I think that when I counted the other day, it was 20 male institutions, and that counts the camps and the institutions, and the 3 female institutions. And I actually go in person as often as possible, as well as we do video conferencing, and when needed, I do telephone conferencing. And what I do is I connect with these individuals. We go through and do a needs assessment. This is their way to communicate to us what they need help with. Do they need assistance with housing? Do they need mental health treatment? Do they need employment? You know, what types of things do they need? The second part of the program is that I create for them a reentry plan. And this is a 3, 4, 5-page document that gives them the information that they've specifically asked for. So for example, if they need assistance with mental health treatment, I'm able to give them, during my presentation, during my discussion with them, information on the Nord Center, how it works, when they can show up in person without an appointment, how they get an appointment, and I give them the information right on their reentry plan for how they connect with the Nord Center when they get home. I'm also able to, in person, face-to-face, explain to them how important it is for them to connect with the Nord Center the first day that they're home. I'm sure you're aware that it's taking 60 days for a person to see a psychiatrist in Lorain County these days. So it's very important if these men and women are taking medication that they're connected with the day they get home, they are connecting with mental health services so they don't run out of medication that's extremely important to them. The third part of our program, and I'm getting far behind here, this is just some demographics. This shows who we're serving, broken down into several different ways. The third part of our program, which is by far the most helpful part of the program, in my opinion, is our Citizen Circle program. As you can see here, this is some of the main things that people are asking us for assistance with. So employment, obviously that's huge. Most people, when they come home, unless they're disabled, unless they are elderly, are looking for employment. They want to be able to support themselves and their families, and they feel very overwhelmed by that. So we are able to connect them with employment services that are in the community. Driver's license, food assistance, education, figuring out their ID. It's things that go from very, very small and relatively easy to figure out, how do I get a birth certificate, to how do I go from never having had valuable employment to being able to support myself in an actual career. So the way that we meet with them once they're home is through our Citizen Circle program. And our Citizen Circle program meets...
Can you go back? This, just so you know, we have served through our reentry services. We have connected since 2014, and we started the reentry plans in April of 2014.
Oh, you need to get closer to the microphone.
We have prepared 479, almost 500 reentry plans with individuals. One of the things that I think you should know about Lorain County is we're different from other reentry coalitions across the state of Ohio, and we've actually been recognized because we are different. When we do reentry services, we personalize it for the individual. We don't just come in and throw a bunch of information at them that is basically, here's all the stuff in our county. What we do is Nikki meets with them, talks with them personally, connects with them, treats them as a human being, and says, what are your needs? Because not everybody's needs are different, are the same. Once she does that needs assessment, we send them a reentry plan, which is actually communicated through their case manager. That reentry plan is personalized to them. That's unique, I think, for the most part in Ohio. Not really done, where we tell them this is what you need, and then we provide that with them. Once they get that reentry plan, it gives them a wealth of information before they even really leave the prison as to what they had said that they needed and how it can help them, including providing them, for example, all of the places like in Lorain County where you can get free clothing. We give them a list of all of that, or the food pantries in their area, or if they want churches, you know, stuff like that. This right here is just from the reentry plans. The first slide was like the major things. This lists them in order in terms of priority based upon them. We do notice, for example, that assistance with abuse counseling, drug abuse counseling, services and treatment is really low. But unfortunately, many of our individuals going into prison have a drug abuse history. One of the things we're working on is to now do more to assess their needs for drug or for other risk factors, criminogenic needs, and then actually work more to encourage them, not just they tell us what they need. We are expanding now to try to identify their risk factors and then encourage them more to participate in those programs. I will also let you know real quickly before Nikki talks about the Citizen Circle is that the APA works with us. And many times, even though they provide reentry planning for their individuals, they refer them to our Citizen Circle as another means, not somebody telling them they have to do it. It's somebody that says, here, we're a service to help you.
So the Citizen Circle program is the way that we meet with individuals once they are home from incarceration, or if people have, a lot of times people don't want to come right when they get home. So a lot of times we'll see people 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or we have had people come that have been out for 5 years, but are still struggling with some of these needs, and so they'll come to us for assistance. We meet with the individuals. We meet once a month on the 4th Tuesday of every month at the Amy Levin Center, which is on North Ridge Road near the Mental Health Board. And what we do at Citizen Circle is we meet with individuals as an individual. So we sit down at a table with them, and it's the individual and then a group of service providers. We have an individual from Lorain Community College, somebody from the Nord Center, Firelands, the Mental Health Board, the Drug and Alcohol Board, Lorain County Health and Dentistry, Passages Fatherhood Program, Legal Aid, Goodwill, UMADOP, obviously we're there, the APA. We have usually about 12 service providers that are at Citizen Circle every month. And we sit down as a group with this individual and look at what barriers are they facing that are causing them to not be able to achieve the goals that they're having. And the people are able to leave with written information that's going to help them overcome whatever barrier they are facing. As Michelle kind of indicated earlier, DRC, the Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, holds Lorain County out as something to aspire to as far as reentry, a reentry program. They love what we're doing as far as InReach, and they love our Citizen Circle program. So they regularly send people to Michelle and I to talk with us about the work that we're doing. They regularly send people to watch what we're doing. And it's working very well. We are always open to referrals. I know Commissioner Kokoski has referred people to us. We get referrals through the community, through APA, through the probation department. The judges will refer people that they are considering for judicial release to have them get reentry plans before they not vote, before they rule on a judicial release. So we are very encouraged by the work that's been being done. We've had a lot of great success. My phone rings off the hook with the people that I've made contact with in prison, and being able to help connect them with the services that we have in the community. Our average is about 4 people a month that come to our Citizen Circle program. Obviously, that does not include the people that call us. Some months we've had 8 people, some months we've had 2. We make sure that we're there every single month as planned. We were there the day after Christmas this year, and we actually had some people come. So we are very faithful and committed to being there for our people when we tell them we're going to be. And the main thing that we tell people, and I say this to my people in prison all the time, I don't have the answer to every problem they're going to come over, that they're going to face, but we're their team. And we're a good team for them. Nobody leaves Citizen Circle feeling like it was a waste of their time. We have such a brain trust of people that are there that are able to brainstorm ideas and solutions to these problems for these vulnerable people, that we're able to get them connected in a meaningful way. Is there anything else on this slide? Okay, so the last thing that I just wanted to say was that our next coalition meeting is next Thursday. It's August 10th at the Amy Levin Center this month. And our next Citizen Circle is August 22nd. It's also at the Amy Levin Center at 10 o'clock. The public is always invited. We would love to have you come and see what we do. And then
The last thing that I wanted to mention, and also real quickly, with our Citizen Circle, we can't serve like a ton of people, just so you know. Each time we meet with an individual, it takes like 20 to 30 minutes to work just with them, and we're only there for 2 hours. We get the commitment of the community partners for that a long time. So when we have 7 or 8, we're like staying over, pushing it. So when we say that we're kind of like at maximum capacity when we're meeting with the Citizen Circle. So I wanted you to say, well, gosh, only 4 people, that's it. It does. We do meet with a lot. One of the reasons we wanted to come to you today, too, is to talk to you because one of our major difficulties is funding. Currently, we are funded primarily through grants, and Lorain County Board of Mental Health has been a great sponsor of us and has provided some funding for us, but it's difficult. How do we keep going? We have numerous organizations saying that they like what we're doing. They do not want to see us go. The community partners rely on us. The jail would like us to also expand and have a reentry program for the Lorain County Sheriff's Department. The difficulty is we don't have the resources to be able to do that yet. Our recidivism rate for our individuals doing reentry plans is actually very good. And as you know, with the jail population, their recidivism rate is extremely high. So being able to expand and work with the jails would be wonderful. But we are limited.
What kind of conversations have you had with Gary Moore with DRC? I mean, if DRC, Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, is praising and holding you out there as this amazing model for everybody else to follow, how are they stepping up with this support?
Well, they have been trying to do several things. Also, to let you know, too, Lorain County Board of Mental Health, Charlie Neff, and Kathleen Kern is also as a new director. They're very strong supporters. They worked with seeking assistance from DRC or through OMAS to try to get us funding. And I will let you know that last year we got a $50,000 grant, all of the coalitions in the state of Ohio who were recognized coalitions, and then if you were not a coalition but a partner, then you got a reduced amount. But they got funding that way. When we speak with DRC, our representative, Brian Byorth, Gary Moore has recognized the fact that the coalitions are dying. The reason being is many coalitions initially got funded through the Bureau of Justice Assistance through the Second Chance Act. Similar to Lorain County, we got a startup grant that was able to keep us going. The difficulty lies in keeping that funding going. You may get a grant for 3 or 4 years through a BJA grant, but once that grant's over, sustainability becomes a key factor. Cuyahoga County, for example, they are very successful in having an Office of Reentry and a strong coalition. However, they became a line item in the government. So in their Cuyahoga County government is the Office of Reentry. Others have, it has become a part of their APA. Others that try to exist on their own have to try to seek funding through community providers, providing like grant funds or just basically contributing to keep the coalitions going. Brian Byorth from DRC has been talking with us, and DRC has been talking about ways that they could fund coalitions to keep that re-entry going once those individuals leave. At this point, I don't know what they're doing. Brian's having me present next month at the Northeast Regional Coalition meeting about Lorain County, what we do in the data, and how we have been able to serve because they like our model.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just a little frustrating because we
It
always
is
hear about
frustrating
how
to
it's
us.
important and all Gary Moore ever talked about. And I have great respect for Gary Moore. I think he's done a great job. DRC is a tough responsibility, but you know, we always hear about how great something is, and then they don't want to put the money with it.
Well, and I think to more directly answer your question, I think the answer is not much. I don't think that they have not put any funds into us directly, to the local coalitions. So, like Michelle said, the state through OMAS did provide grant funding for us, but nothing has come through DRC. It's something that's talked about, and then it goes away, and then it's talked about. But at the end of the day, DRC has not provided any funding for local coalitions yet.
It's all
And-
about reducing, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
recidivism.
Well, and one of the things that unfortunately they do have, they say is that, well, we work with them while we have them and we have custody of them. Once they go back to the county, it's the county's responsibility then to work with them. However, even though that, like, we have instances where people will come out, just one example on, like, Nikki had a story where they came out on a Sunday. This individual had nothing. They just dropped them off, and this person had no place to go, no money, didn't have their medication, and luckily they had Nikki's cell phone number, and they finally got to a police station and called Nikki, and Nikki went on a Sunday, even though she was traveling back from vacation, to provide services for this individual, because they're just dropped off. So there are a lot of problems. They do recognize the need, and the reentry coordinators for DRC, the regional ones, are trying to do something to try to help fund it. But as Nikki said, it goes up, it goes down. However, they did talk to me before, because they said, Lorain County Reentry is, we've been in existence since 2013. We're still going. Even like Summit County, I mean, some of them are just starting to die. So unless something is some type of coordinated effort for the counties and the state to do this, unfortunately, they'll go away.
And the state does provide us excellent support. I have pretty much access to any inmate that I want to see. I have access to individuals who work for DRC, from the case managers up through, I can call Gary Moore's office. Their unit managers, the wardens, they respond to us. They want to support us. It just hasn't been financial. They hold trainings, they do all types of things, and I participate because of my job in community boards, different state level boards, committees, all types of different things to stay active in both the state and the local activities that surround this. So I don't mean to suggest that the state isn't providing any support for us, it just isn't financial.
The most important part.
Right, I mean, yes, I mean, that would be nice too.
Sure.
What other questions do you have?
Any reentry going on with the CBCF?
They've also sought our assistance to do reentry planning, and some of the grants that we have applied for, we have put the CBCF in there. Unfortunately, we haven't received those grants. Federal grants are extremely competitive through the Second Chance Act, and if you've already been awarded one, it's kind of like, very difficult to get another one, unless you do something where you're funding an entire program or service and doing something like that, which, again, we do have a lot of services, so we have those in place. And so that's the difficulty. We would like to expand to the CBCF as well as to the jail. And then we've also been approached by the Department of Youth Services. And we have done some, but they would like us to do more with reentry planning also for youth coming out of DYS, not at the local level through the detention facilities, but the state level facilities. We have on average about 15 youth coming out of DYS. They do give them our information, especially for those that are coming out who are 18, but they would like us to do more with the younger kids and their families as well. So that is another direction that we'd like to move into.
And we've done some training at the county jail and the CBCF for their staff, so that they're aware of the work that we're doing. At the county jail right now, their staff has all been trained by us as to what the work that we do, and they actually provide a copy of the the pocket guide that you have in everyone's belongings when they leave. And I regularly get referrals through the county jail for Citizen Circle, through the case managers at the jail. We have not received as many through CBCF, but I do get some. And because we're not able to do in-reach there, for the reasons that Michelle said, it's a little bit different, but we do have a relationship with them. It's just not as detailed as it could be.
So are Lorain County employers stepping up to try to assist and provide jobs for these individuals? I know we've been trying to get away from the check the box
Correct.
Program, but you know, it's a big part of it. When I was state rep, I got a lot of letters from individuals who told me, hey, I'm doing everything I can to turn my life around. I just can't find a job. And I'm just wondering if there's a lot of orientation that you're doing with employers, what kind of feedback you're getting from them.
At this point, because we're a reduced staff, Nikki works almost full-time. I only work, I volunteer most of my time. I have a full-time job at Case Western, so we just don't have the funding to keep us going. We would like to do more with employers. Right now, we do work with a lot of programs in Lorain County that help to find, like Goodwill, UMADOT. We do referrals to help individuals, and they do a lot with employers. We were, and we're still hoping to do a Restored Citizens Summit next year. With the Restored Citizens Summit is you bring individuals in the community that are returning citizens, as well as you have different tracks to educate the populace about, including employers, about reentry, successful reintegration in the community and how it can be done. One of those tracks is with employers. So we're hoping, cross our fingers, to have one next year where we have an entire track where we will invite employers in the community and educate them on the benefits of hiring individuals to the community. We hosted Lorain County, a DRC. They have a quarterly meeting where they bring all the reentry coalitions, and the state level reentry coalition board comes. And we actually had an employer who was a returning citizen. He was actually from a different county, but he came to Lorain County and spoke about how he hires and how good the workers are. And he only hires veterans and returning citizens. And he has done a phenomenal job. So we try to bring in individuals when we can.
And the Restored Citizens Summit, we are partnering with the Bonner Center at Oberlin College to host that. We're hoping in the spring, and the planning for that is going full force. So we haven't set a date yet for the spring, but I'm pretty confident it's going to happen. And there is a lot that's planned for the employers to educate them about the tax credits that are available, about CQEs, the Certificate of Qualification for Employment, and how that can affect them, the civil liability protections that are offered through that. So we do have quite a bit prepared or planned for employers when it comes to that.
So when they're first released, are most accepted then back into the home by family members, friends? Because I guess they have to be careful about who they associate with once they come out.
So that depends on the Adult Parole Authority. If they're on APA supervision, the APA has some control over where they're able to live. And so if they approve the home, then the restored citizens are able to go home to their families. Sometimes, depending on the circumstances at home or the circumstances with the ex-offender, they may not be able to go back home. We have struggled some with housing. We struggled a lot with housing in Lorain County for people who are coming home homeless, or we try to work with landlords and try to keep databases on who the landlords are that will rent, who won't discriminate against somebody with a conviction on their record. We keep up to date as much as we can on the shelters, the recovery housing that's available for those who don't have family to come home to, either because the family won't welcome them or because the Adult Parole Authority doesn't see that as a proper fit for them.
Well, thank you. You guys do really important work, and you need to find a way to help them succeed, or like you said, they'll just go right back to what they know and end up still costing the taxpayers money. So I would hope that they would see your value and give you the funding that you need to stay doing what you're doing.
Any other
Good.
questions?
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
coming
you.
in.
Time today.
Right.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Under Resolutions Number 1, Investments,
So moved.
Second.
discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Appropriations,
So moved.
Second.
discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Transfers,
So moved.
Second.
discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions,
So moved.
Second.
discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
No travel bills,
So moved.
Second.
discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Commissioners authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez. Mr. Cortez?
I'm working on it.
Oh, okay, I
Give me a
thought
second.
maybe you
I'm looking
didn't
at
hear
the
me.
sheet. I did hear you, I apologize.
Maybe you were ignoring her.
I thought so too.
I've tried to do that,
I
she
know,
just
I won't
doesn't go
let him,
away.
I won't let him ignore me.
Paul Harvey paused there.
Oh, yes, yes. I do have a few personnel issues, potential hires at workforce development, may want to go over a couple 911 apps if we have some time. In our administrative staff also, something I talked to you about last week, one of the temporary employees. Update on our ongoing bargaining negotiations with United Auto Workers of America and the Job and Family Services employment. Potential sale of real estate and pending legal matter. All those topics are allowable under Sunshine Act for executive session discussion, so I'd ask at the conclusion of our regular board meeting, we go into executive session, we discuss those matters that I've explained. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the July 26, 2017 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Advertise bids for 201 Burns Road project, notice being the Chronicle August 8th and 15th, pre-bid meeting August 22nd at 9 a.m. at the site, and August 31st at 2 p.m. bids will be opened.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion,
Yes,
Go ahead.
since the
You're up.
board's not going to ask for it, I'll ask for it. You know, we always hear so much negative news. Let's talk a little bit about positive news. Back in, when we started this project, it's really been replete with ups and downs and challenges that nobody could really anticipate. As a quick recap for those that may just be capturing this project for the first time, Pheasant Run approached us. They were in significant crisis.
We're in Burns Road.
We're on Burns Road. I thought you were going to talk about the 911 center.
I'm down on number 12.
Oh,
See,
okay.
I got confused
Do
again.
you want to wait? Do you have anything on the 911
Let's talk
Burns
about
well, it's
Road?
not
911.
911, this is our new one that we did on Monday.
Or
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sorry,
next to it.
Burns Road.
201
I jumped
Burns
ahead of you
Road.
guys, didn't
Yes.
Yeah.
I? I'm not having a good morning.
That's okay, me either.
Well, the 911 project is on Burns Road.
The
It's not
201.
911, it's the 201.
It's under 911.
Yeah, but it should be
Heading, but
It
it's.
shouldn't be under
I know.
911. So you're confused too. I like this. We're having a good morning.
Everybody's
I didn't even
Every-
say 911, I crossed it out, just read it.
Everybody's confused this morning. I got a little discombobulated looking in my
Let's talk
folder here.
about the new offices with the
The-
collaborative agreement
sure.
in regards to the law enforcement to fight the opiate epidemic.
It's going to be good. We've been working on that project long before our announcement. As you can see, concurrent processes were working behind the scenes. We did hire an architect some weeks ago to prepare the documents to go out for the renovations. I really want the exterior work done in the building before the weather sets in on us. We have some roof repairs, some brickwork that needs to be done. I walked the property a few months back. I want to lay some footer tile around the property. I think there's some minor drainage issues out there. They're not significant. There's low land there. It's always been a bit low on that side. It drops off into the ravine in the back. I want to be safe. We're going to come off the footer a bit, similar to what we did the courthouse over here. I want to drain that property real well. I think water is wicked into the brick on the bottom of the building somewhat. Nothing significantly damaged, but I want to do these repairs for the next 20 or 30 years. So we're going to lay that tile in. We're going to seal up some of the brick, going to dry it out, seal it. We're going to tuck point. Same way with the roof. We're going to peel back some of the areas of the roof, replace some of the insulation under the rubber membrane, do some repair on that. The decking is all good. We're going to re-slope some portions of the roof and redo the capping. The biggest piece of the job is going to be in the curtain wall with the windows. I don't believe they were ever installed correctly. The weeps were filled. I don't quite get people that do masonry work. When you see these weeps and they end up with mortar in the weeps, and of course then the water has no place to go. Even homeowners don't quite understand weeps around windows. You do get a slight amount of moisture. It has to be able to drip out somewhere occasionally. When we had people inspect them, and I went out and looked at myself, there is mortar in a lot of the weeps, which has caused some degradation of the curtain wall, specifically around the window, which has actually caused some of the drywall on the inside of the building to deteriorate. Again, nothing hugely significant. A lot of it's cosmetic, but it looks terrible. So we're going to actually remove all of the curtain wall windows, redo the sashes, the framing on the window. And I would love to know who actually built the building 30 years ago. You cannot tilt those babies in. I don't care how much caulk you put on them. You can't do it. You have to slope them a bit out, and those are sloped in, and you can see where they've been caulking them for quite a bit of time. So we're going to raise that up. We're going to put the proper angle on the sills, and then we're going to reinstall the windows. There's nothing really actually wrong with them. They're really a good product. They're just not installed correctly. The weeps are clogged, and there's the wrong angle on the sills. All that's going to be the exterior work, and then we're going to clean and repaint, reseal. It's got an engineered product on part of the building, the spray on. It hasn't been sealed and painted in a number of years. If you're familiar with that product, it's a great product, but it requires periodic maintenance. Otherwise, it'll wick water right through that sprayed on masonry concrete. So it's not a tremendous amount of work, but I want to get it done. I really like to be done by the end of November, before the cold weather sets in. Mm-hmm. And then phase 2, we'll start working inside. My intentions are to work with the drug task force, get them inside the building within the next couple weeks. We'll move them around. I want to get the DEA fellas here as soon as possible. I spoke with them Monday, and we'll play a little bit of a shuffleboard inside the building. They'll be in one area that we're not working on, which is going to be coroner space. While we renovate the specialized space for the federal people and the drug task force, we'll move them in, and then we'll start the renovation on the other side of the building. So everybody's got to be very cooperative while we do that. There'll be a slight amount of added expense. It's hard to work around people in a building and do the renovation with power cutoffs and requirements, and then of course the heating and cooling. I got to maintain services in the building. The good thing is we'll own the whole building, so it isn't like I have to divide out the conditioning of the building. So I'm pretty comfortable that we can get this done. My big goal is to have it all renovated and completed by the spring, so that we can start thinking about moving the coroner in sometime late spring. I know that we read in the paper that that he thought that was not something. It was something that still had to be negotiated, but I understood my direction from the board a little differently. So I'll sit down with him. Clearly, he has a lot to decide about what he'd like to see in the space.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But we're going to be renovating that space to house those offices here and stop renting space, which we've been doing for a number of years for his offices.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, just want to thank the community college again for working with us on this. I mean, the deal doesn't come together without the community college's participation, and like I said on Monday, the college is always proving that why community is part of its middle name, stepping up again to help out with this major concern that we have, and this is a really strong partnership and hoping it'll produce strong results. We also recognize very well the treatment beds are badly needed in this county, as is the case in just about every county in Ohio because of the issue we face, and hopefully we'll be able to garner some support in the near future from the state. So far, not the support that we need in that area, but we'll continue to work on things. And as I've said before, it's just a sad reality that counting on the state to help you with things, the cavalry doesn't seem to be coming. And so we're going to have to figure out how to work it out on our own and find a solution, but we will do that.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Under sanitary, award contract to Lane Inliner LLC Hilliard in the amount of $728,180 for the Pheasant Run Sanitary Sewer Rehab Sewer Improvement 123. 5 bids were open on July 25th, this being the most responsive complying with specifications. Engineer's estimate was $1,168,000. After completion of the project, the cost of the improvement shall be calculated by Lorain County Sanitary Engineer, and assessments to be 2/3 collected over the first 20 years and 1/3 collected over the next 10 years.
So moved.
Second.
Mr.
Yes.
Cordez, now you can talk about Pheasant Run.
Well, the reason I confused myself is I was really excited about the bids when they came in, and I
Yeah.
apologize again for getting ahead
That's
of
okay.
what you were doing. I was looking at my numbers here. So I'll recap again. Pheasant Run came to us. They were in a very bad situation with the EPA. The findings, their plan had been failing for a number of years. They had approached Walco. They found their options a little more costly than what they thought they could afford. We worked out a solution with LaGrange. Prosecutor Innes and I had been out in LaGrange back in, I think, 2003 or 4, arranged a flow agreement that we didn't think we'd ever be able to use. But we went back to LaGrange. They were very cordial and interested in expanding their plant in LaGrange. We worked the in-betweens with Pheasant Run, the EPA, our folks, and we came up with a solution for Pheasant Run that seemed to work. Then we had quite a bit of interference with that solution from the township and Walco and sundry other people that seemed to think they had a better way of doing it, but we persevered. Our perseverance was rewarded by the EPA recognizing that our solutions were the best solutions. They just came out with that letter a few weeks ago indicating that. The project's moving ahead real well. What we promised the Pheasant Run people is that we would work really, really hard to control cost on this project. Even with our cost being lower than everybody else's, even though other agencies said that they could do it less costly, which they couldn't prove at the end of the day, we always erred on the side of the worst case scenario. And we told them that. So today we're looking at exactly what we thought would happen. We brought the bids in about $600,000 under what we were telling folks. So let me give you some numbers. In April 7, 2007 hearing, the lump sum payoff was estimated to be $8,811 for the assessment for this work. Based upon these bids, it's $7,544 per household. That's a net change of almost $1,300 per home. And
That's 15%.
we told them we would work hard. And let me also say that on top of that, we've arranged very, very aggressive low-interest loans to various federal agencies. The rate's still a little bit up in the air when we close on it, so these numbers will shift a little bit. I don't think the rate's going to move much, but I don't want to say that this is the $7,544 concrete number. It's not going to move much, but the rates do move. Until we close on those loans, there'll be a little bit of movement on that, but these are the construction numbers. Absent an unforeseen condition when we get in there, this shouldn't change much. The 30-year assessment, because they wanted to go 30 years, we're doing 20 years, and then we're doing a 10-year. They asked to do that. That's what Pheasant Run wanted to do. We went from a $14,679 assessment to a $9,595 assessment on a 30-year assessment. Not to mention that there's still the potential for 300 homes to be built out there. There's 300 lots that can be built out there. I doubt all 300 will ever get built out, but a few hundred of those will be. And that brings back a $4,000 tap fee on every one of those lots that goes directly to the association. So you have a project here that in total, unfortunately I didn't total it up, what are we talking about here? About 2.2 million, roughly?
$4,000 times 200 homes?
That's, yes. That all goes to the association to help everybody that's paying this right now. That money, the association can use it however they see fit with the residents out there. Because the upsize to service those homes is being built into this project and being paid for by these people. So as other homes get built out there, they're not getting free service. That money goes to the HOA for these residents. They can distribute it in cash to the residents if they want. They can use it for upgrades within their community. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, 200 homes, it's 800 grand.
And mindful that we're doing the on-site, all of the on-site work. We're collapsing the existing plant. We're installing all new water meters throughout the whole, because right now, that's a disaster out there. We're doing master metering out there. And the only piece that we're not doing, and which I would hope that if they eventually get TAPS fees, they'll work with their residents, is that there may be some lateral problems from the homes to the sewers that we fix. And that's something we still have to wrestle with. It's been a good project for everybody. And we did exactly what we said we're going to do for them. This is good news. We're going to do a press release on it. We're going to release some information. We're going to post it. We have a Pheasant Run page to keep the residents updated. I have not sent this to them yet. I wanted you to have it here first. We'll get it out to the association. We'll post it up. But I'm real pleased with the work that's been done here with the county sanitary engineer folks, Ken Carney, Rob Kleiber, KE, our big partners, the engineering firm, and with all the cooperation from LaGrange and our partners. That's really all I have to say about that. But
The short version is they'll be able to keep flushing their toilets.
well, you got a little frustrated, Commissioner. I'm hopeful that by next summer, we'll have this project completed.
Good.
I know it took a little longer, but regulatory agencies are hard to navigate through, and I know that you wanted it completed a lot sooner than we were able to do it. So did I. But you can see how long it took to get through EPA and get the permit to install, and it's never, this stuff is never easy.
Well, also the interference by people who are no longer in the game who wanted to get back into the game to cause us additional grief.
Well,
Call it what it is.
It was challenging.
Right.
Yeah, no one wants the EPA knocking on their door, and I know that government gets a bad name by some folks these days, but this is a classic example of if government doesn't step in and help, it's going to be a tough time for them to make this whole deal happen. They're going to get a
Well, they couldn't make it
interest
happen on their own.
Right.
They weren't able to borrow any additional funds. They're not able to make their own assessments. They're not able. They were really had nowhere to turn.
13 years, first time we've had a standing ovation for sewer hearings.
I've never seen it happen before.
So, I mean,
Right.
Normally we get yelled at
Right.
and other things. You're right. There was applause. I'm hoping that applause continues once we have to make the assessment and have to pay the first bill. But we have turned over every rock to save them money, get every bit of low-interest loan we could. There's no grants out there for sewers anymore, haven't been for decades. But we continue to try to deliver value-oriented services for these folks. And this is what we're supposed to do. If people give us a chance, this is what we'll do for them. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jerry has something.
Go ahead.
Are we waiting?
Is there a problem?
Apparently did not submit a responsible bidding form. I don't think that.
Is that for this that he's talking about?
No.
No, it doesn't.
We should probably waive that as part of our motion.
Go ahead, Counsel.
Commissioners, I just saw something while Jim was talking. Apparently, we have a responsible bidder form that was not included in the bid package. That's probably not, well, it isn't a serious defect, does not affect the competitiveness of the bid, but you probably
But they have,
should.
they'll have to submit the form. now.
They have
Okay.
now submitted it, but that's
Oh, okay.
probably something that you should, as part of
Recognize.
awarding this, waive that defect in the original submission of the bid.
No, that is something we want to see.
I was getting ready to jump here. Yeah, that's not fair.
I'm sorry, I just got that this morning and was looking at it right as
So do I
Jim
need to
was
make a
talking.
motion to waive the defect, but, and then?
Well, it's none of our, it's just a motion to, you can accept the bid as long as they submit the form as required.
Okay.
Correct, Counselor?
So moved.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Award contract to Spear Brothers, Inc., Sandusky, in the amount of $2,388,595 for the Pheasant Run Lift Station in Forest Main Sanitary Sewer 124. 4 bids received on July 27th, being the most responsive complying with specifications. Engineer's estimate was $2,481,000. After completion of the project, the cost of the improvement shall be calculated by the engineer, and assessments will be 2/3 collected over the first 20 years and 1/3 collected over the next 10 years.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Award contract to HD Supply Waterworks Limited, Ashland, in the amount of $173,673.44 for the Pheasant Run Water Meter Replacement Sanitary Number 125. 2 bids received on this, July 25th being the most responsive, complying with specifications. Engineer's estimate was $262,000. After completion of the cost of the improvement shall be calculated by Lorain County Sanitary Engineer, and assessments be 2/3 collected over the first 20 years and 1/3 collected over the next 10 years.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I want to thank you guys for yesterday. It's nice to see the room full of folks. We need to turn that ceremony into action.
You mean Monday?
It was part of yesterday for me.
The extension
The extension of Monday.
I thought you were talking about the ditch hearing.
He's talking about the
The ditch here was pretty good, too. But for Monday,
Yeah.
we're going to get busy on that. You did hear something that I actually wasn't prepared for them to say, which was we're having discussion about bringing the air unit here. I hadn't told you that because it was just a concept, but I'm glad that they mentioned it. They mentioned it, I didn't. So I'm in some initial discussions with the potential there, and I'm going to try to mature that over the next few months. Yes, yes. I was surprised that they actually said that publicly. So I'm pretty excited about possibly being able to work on that and bring that unit here. We could use the boost at the airport. That would be really nice. So I want to incrementally walk into getting the facility done and then talking about how to make this collaboration strong, and some changes I think need to be made, and how things are organized and how we work collaboratively in the community. But that'll follow. First we got to get it together, bring it under one roof, and then we have to talk about how to make it work better. So I'm real pleased with how we've done this. Most people don't know we've been working on this for several months, trying to bring it all into focus. And thank you for the support of everything you guys did. You won't get a lot of credit for it, you never do. But it was a little bit more difficult than people think. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you got a few more gray hairs from that.
Phew. I don't know if there's any left to gray, so.
This is an approval rating by the drug dealers. Our approval rating is going to go down with them, and I'm glad.
That's good. That's good.
Mr. Ennis.
Jerry wasn't smiling.
He wasn't paying
No,
attention. That was for you, Jerry.
now Mr. Cortez had me confused, because I was going to say, I've never heard anybody describe a ditch hearing as exciting,
That's what I was thinking.
Well, I thought it was nice. The people were pleasant yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought it worked very well.
I do have one matter of pending litigation, probably the same one Mr. Cortez has, but I would like an executive session regarding that matter.
Commissioners report.
Real quick, I meant to mention when we were doing appropriations, our solid waste department, Tiffany Barker, got a grant for us through the Keep America Beautiful for the city of Lorain for their canines to do agility training. It's going to be over in Lorain. It has some pollinator gardens and things like that it's kind of what Keep America Beautiful is all about. But I think it's really cool that they're going to have this little agility course. Lowe's going to be providing some of the equipment and doors and fences and all that. So I'm having Tiffany check to see if other agencies are going to be allowed to use that course too. If not, that might be something we might want to consider in other places. $4,500 grant. It's kind of an unusual one, and I just want to thank her for thinking outside the box and getting that together for Lorain. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about was already reported. After a meeting last week, we had a walkthrough of the old courthouse. There's still a long way to go, but it was interesting to see the craftsmanship of when it was first built. And it was, before all the renovations are going to cover all that up. So they built it to last, and we're renovating that old girl to last longer than probably any of us in this room today. So Friday, we walked the property of 2 owners whose land would be affected by a ditch project that was brought to us by our stormwater district, by their township trustees. We had that public hearing yesterday, and we heard a lot of testimony both for and against the project. And we continued that hearing in order for the stormwater district to take a closer look, and also for our engineer's office to work on solutions that hopefully will not destroy the property along that ditch. And I just want to thank everyone involved for taking the time to see and hear all the evidence and to work towards a better solution on that project. Monday, we talked about the special meeting was held to announce the collaborative effort to address the drug dealers in Lorain County. And I think having our drug task force, the DEA, and crime lab and coroner under one roof will maximize their efforts in getting these dealers off our streets. I'm looking forward to working with our community partners, and want to especially thank Lorain County Community College for working with us to make that vision a reality. Actually, that one DEA guy's at Avon Lake. Grad, yeah.
He lives in Avon.
He was, and he left and came back.
He's
so.
an LCC grad.
Yeah.
And he wants to, he actually said some of the programming at the college is some of the very finest that's available in the state of Ohio, and right on the cutting edge of what they're doing with the DEA.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting fellow.
Yeah, they both were. We talked a lot after the meeting was over, so. And then, as I stated yesterday, Luther Ditch hearing, which is continued to September 19th. To give our, and we have to make a decision on that date. Our time is up, correct? So it'll be do or die on the 19th.
I wasn't aware of that. Can we talk about it? Is that the last?
That's,
yes.
You have to do it within 90 days of the petition. That's the 84th day. So, I mean, unless we hold another meeting like 4 days
Or
after
just
that,
clear
then we're
cut.
done. Peter said he would have
Okay, after
everything
all of
So
that
it's interjecting.
talk,
That's
yes,
a
and it was yesterday, after all of that talk, after all of the good words, you used the word clear cut,
Yeah,
right?
don't even go there.
We're not paying attention, right, guys?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
just gonna be absent that day.
Being sarcastic.
Yeah,
I
'cause
re-
actually, the residents will have to be notified August 29th of their final
Right.
assessments of this project.
That's what we
August
went through
29th?
yesterday. She explained all that to us yesterday.
There's no provisions for,
Unless we withdraw and start all over again.
okay, so what would be a problem with that?
That's not my decision, that's the petitioner's.
Well, technically,
I
we
mean-
are the petitioners. I mean, the Stormwater District paid the fee. We do the petition because we want to put the ditch on permanent maintenance, and we waiver the assessments, and
Right.
it goes to the Stormwater District. So we're going through this process simply because we want to put it on permanent maintenance for the future. So it really wouldn't be that big of a deal, right?
No, Pittsfield Township would have to give a letter of.
I know, but I
Right,
mean,
but it's a-
I know it's a little work for us,
Yeah.
because we've got to resend the letters. How many people were on the water course?
No, say almost 100.
Okay, I mean, I just don't
60,
want to,
maybe 70, I don't know.
I just don't want to rush to
Yeah.
a solution. I think there's some creative discussion going on. No.
No clear cut.
No, he's giving me the eyeball here, Madam President, you know.
Don't
Good.
look at him.
Look, just like
Look
this.
straight ahead.
Just go like this, go like this. Go.
That's
I just don't want to lose the initiative of what we're talking
Yeah.
about and some of the solutions we're talking about back there. And I don't know that we have enough time to really fully mature those things. It's going to take a while just to go back there, spray those Formites back there. And I know it's gonna take a couple weeks to try to extract those manually and see the results from that before we can do much else. And so we may need some additional time to see the results of that.
Jerry,
Maybe-
you have any thoughts on that, or? Curious, make sure we're all legally buttoned
Well,
up.
I mean, some of those time limits are things that the petitioners can compel us to do, but if we don't comply with them, my thinking is is not fatal or does not make the process effective if we don't. I'll have to check on that, but.
I
You
mean,
might
I
want
don't-
to take a look at a new project. Like I said yesterday, I'm really thinking that that S-shaped ditch that has all those invasive species is the bottleneck and the problem. So if we straighten that out, clear it out, we may not have that whole project to look at in the future.
My
Well, the
concern is the
problem-
Bauer property,
the
where it
problem-
just goes in and out.
Yeah.
It
Okay, the
makes the
problem
left
with-
turn, it wasn't the invasive species.
The problem
there.
with clearing that out is twofold. It's a wetland. And so it takes specialized equipment, what we, you know.
The farm field?
Well, it's
Is
not
it
really
wetland?
farm field. That area where that turn is there is wetland. It's in the farm field, but it's it's wetland in there. So you need to come back, they put netting, they call it netting, whatever, you rent this, and put the equipment on to get through the wetland. And since it's wetland, I'm almost certain, because we're gonna put a different channel and we're gonna require some special permitting to do that. To go back, it isn't, you can dip a ditch, even if it's a wetland, if you're only dipping through there.
Not changing it.
Right. So, you know, I don't want to rush to a solution because we have to refile the petition while we're trying to work that out. We have to do that. There's some sensitive areas on that ditch.
Well, do we want Jerry to look at it first before we figure this whole drawn out of what we're going to do, whether we have to extend it, withdraw it, reinitiate it?
If we get those formities out of that turn, because they're matted terribly down
Oh,
there.
yeah, you
If
can't
we
see
get
it.
those formities out of there, that may provide enough relief down there. And we may not have to do much else with this, and if the property owner is willing, we may be able to just go in there and rechannel and work on one parcel
That's what I'm
and be
thinking.
done.
That's my goal.
And we did hear the one property owner indicate that she would be fine with us taking those willows down. So she said. But I just don't think we're gonna have all that done, but we'll see. We can try to get the MOUs in place to do that. I will tell you, getting back in there and manually logging out those willows is gonna be expensive too. I don't see any ability to get coring equipment back there, the core, so it's gonna have to be, you know, getting the logging out, but getting the coring out of the ditch can
Stumping
be
it,
hard.
like?
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty difficult.
I just want to make sure we don't drag our feet either, because it's a dentist property, right, that's having the flooding. Yeah, I mean, because that needs to be addressed. That's just so unreasonable for them to go through that all the time.
Well, I think that the folks up by the rail embankment, I think that once we clean down by Quarry Road, they may be surprised how much water's coming to their property. That's.
Then they might want
Yeah.
some help.
Yes, it's,
Yeah,
people
we
want to
don't
look at,
know.
they're not looking at the whole, you know, full absorption of what's going on here.
Or just dig a pond on the dentist property, then it'll
That's
just
what
all
I
drain into a
said.
pond and half of where it goes, right?
That's what I said.
Mosquitoes, West Nile.
I was talking to Commissioner Kokoski.
I'm glad.
All right, well, can we take a look at that together, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, yesterday, we had a conference call with the state to ask questions about the TCAP grant that our county is participating in. And this is in reference to keeping the people who are facing felony 5 convictions out of prison. And the state is going to provide money to the county to find other solutions such as treatment, CBCF, housing. And I was kind of thinking about maybe the Reentry Coalition as part of maybe that grant money. I don't know if that fits, but
There ain't much.
I know there's not a lot.
Actually, Kyle Petty was on that call, and I was on there late because there was confusion on my calendar. Kyle and I were talking a couple weeks ago. He's one of the groomsmen in Teddy's wedding.
Well, we're going
They went all
to,
through college together, were roommates, so we were talking about that, the amount of funding that's available. When it's gone, it's gone.
well,
Right.
you came a bit late. The
A bit. an hour late. Early, and he gets on there saying early's on time is late, and he was an hour
You
late.
posted him right here on TV.
That's all right. I went by my calendar, man. What can I tell you?
But we were represented, so it's not a problem. You got there, you should have been there a little early. I did give him a little rough time, didn't
Yeah,
I?
you
Well, we'll be back on Friday. We have to go to Columbus Friday.
We all
anyway
go to
for
Columbus Friday.
Commissioners Association on how commissioners are gonna handle it.
They were hedging a little bit too much on the MOU and signatories on the MOU. I was really getting annoyed because they kept talking in circles. So I did give them a little bit of a
You
tough
did.
time.
I didn't even know you were on the call until you went off.
I'm a lurker. I think what they're trying to do is a bit laudable. I don't think there's enough money. I was keenly tuned into the fact that if they don't drive down the prison numbers,
The money goes away.
Money
the
goes
money goes
away.
away, but they still won't take our F5s.
Right.
This is only happening in 10 counties. The other 87 counties
You're
still
still-
send their F5s there.
Right. How's
We're
that-
at the mercy of everybody else. All money from them, which is inadequate to begin with, disappears if those other counties continue to send F5s there and they reach their cap or where
Yeah.
they want to be.
Well, he didn't clarify that, though. That's what, that was missing. He didn't clarify if it was ours, if we were based on the number we're figured as Lorain County, if it's on the state. He didn't clarify
He
that.
said
So
state,
it's-
he did, earlier in
he
the
said-
conversation.
Okay, well, I missed it, because when he said it again, it was discussion, and we had a discussion in Columbus a month and a half ago when we met with the DRC on that. Does that mean the county's number, because they give us a set number of
The
felony
baseline?
fives, yeah, the baseline, and, or is it based on the entire state number? He never gave clarification
The way,
of that.
the way he talked about it earlier in the conversation, the state is wanting to, and I'll use an arbitrary figure.
Mhm.
They got 38,000 incarcerated right now. They want that number to be 35.
Mhm.
If that number doesn't get down to 35 and it exceeds that number, they're gonna reduce the funding in the TCAP. And it doesn't matter where those prisoners come from, they're above 35,000, and they're gonna reduce the money in TCAP. We have no control over where
Well,
those
other
people
counties
come
do.
from.
Right.
So we're gonna be penalized if the state doesn't reach their goals. We're already penalized if we send people F5s into their system because, what is it, the per diem, the 70, it comes out of our allocation.
Right.
So we get penalized already, so we're incentivized not to send F5s down there. It isn't that they won't take them, it's that we lose funding if we send the F5s. That's the way I understand it.
That's, I mean, that's, I hope some clarification on Friday
Right,
with
but,
that.
but if the other, if it doesn't, and the other 78 counties continue to send more and more, and they don't reach their targeted reduction in the population, then we suffer for that. And you're right, the baseline, you know, in Cuyahoga and some of the bigger counties, they're already housing their own, a lot of their own
Right.
F5s. Their argument, their conversation points were interesting, because in those communities, there's been a push to use this money to pay for those that are already incarcerated there. But the state's saying, no, this is
No,
new
look
money,
back.
you're not paying for those people, you're already paying the house.
Right.
So that's, they have a different struggle in those communities than I think we're gonna have here. I don't see us having a problem coming to an agreement here in this community. There's gonna be some minor issues, but I don't see it as a big problem. But there's it's not a lot of money.
And you can't really ramp anything up big because we don't know if that money's gonna be here for long enough to, you know, it's kinda like these girls trying to keep this reentry going, you know, never knowing whether, if they have funding for the following year, so.
Well, the very first thing we need to do is we need to sit down and make sure that we get the cooperative agreement.
Mhm.
We need to get our letter out on before August 21st, even if we don't have the MOU done, saying we're gonna get it done.
Yeah.
And then I think the next date is September 18th or 19th.
Yeah,
We have to have it done or we start losing money,
5.5%.
5.5% monthly, until we get it done. So even if it's not by the 21st, saying we intend to have it done, that's gotta go out.
Yep.
So we're tracking okay. We just need now to get everybody in the room and have a conversation. And you and I, again, we're in Columbus, getting some additional updates, and I have a lot of literature on this. But it's, how these folks are going to be served is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a need for partnerships in the community.
Yeah.
And adult probation is going to be significant. The key is not incarceration. It's not designed to put the F5s in our local jail. It's designed to not incarcerate F5s
Right.
and try to rehabilitate them through community supports.
Right.
But
Well, like Cuyahoga County has inpatient, rehab, detox, all kinds of things, where we here have nothing.
Well,
So
that's
we
the
are
problem,
relying
Commissioner.
on probation or
That's the problem. We're
CBCM.
going to tax very limited resources to begin with.
Right. Right.
We're going to tax those resources. There's some dollars to assist with that, but we're going to put a burden on very limited services as it is. And when you hear it's $1 million this or $1 million that, it sounds like a lot, but it gets depleted very, very quickly. And there's already a deficient amount of resources for these folks in our community to begin with.
Right.
You know we don't have a lot of rehab beds. You know we don't have drug treatment beds. We don't have a detox center. We don't. The list goes on and on and on.
Other
You've been talking
communities
about
that
it.
are in this TCAP program have those things, some of them don't.
The bigger communities, Hamilton, Cuyahoga,
Yeah.
they have it. Lucas, they have it. And let's also point out that some of those communities already had some of these wraparound services and been doing some of these things already. And we're only now being forced into starting to develop these things. Lucas County's been doing this for a couple of years now.
I mean, we have Meraldi with the drug treatment court and Walther with his veterans treatment court, and they're finding other alternatives to try to help these people so they don't go to prison. But like I said, there's
Don't go to prison, where do you send them to?
right, exactly.
That's the problem. There's no landing.
They're already trying not to put them there, and that's like the last resort. So I don't know, once their last resort is on the table, what are we gonna do with them then?
And this would have been so simple, state legislature just would have eliminated the F5 classification.
I'm not sure what that means, Commissioner.
Well, if you get rid of the felony 5 and it goes back down to the
Misdemeanor.
misdemeanor, then it's not eligible for prison time. It'd been that simple, but the state legislature, based on conversations we had in Columbus, that they didn't want to talk about being soft on crime, so they weren't getting rid of the F5, but they're just leaving it up here for us to handle, so. The wordsmithing, I guess.
Yeah.
Good to have a felony 5 versus that, you know,
Misdemeanor.
high-level misdemeanors.
Let's end my short report.
Oh, okay, thank you. Other than everything else we did, also I had the opportunity on behalf of the board certificate of recognition. Trustee Chad Parsons in Sheffield Township, his 10th National Night Out. It was moved this year in a partnership with Clearview Schools. It was held at the Clearview High School. Probably the biggest turnout. They had 2 helicopters. They had UH and the Mercy helicopter there.
What was that for?
National Night Out, honoring, recognizing our safety forces. Our sheriff's department was there. They had the urban assault vehicle out, Sheffield Township Fire, multiple departments from amongst the county, you know, celebrating.
You get to
community
drive it,
awareness.
do that?
No,
And trust you, huh?
didn't trust me. I did like a little bomb thing, though, you know, a little robot.
Next time we go on a ditch route, can we take that back?
Yeah, sure. Probably need
Put a
that
blade
in
on
some
it,
of those
clear
areas.
cut.
I won't have to knock all those ticks, I won't have to knock all
That's the
those
end of my
ticks
report.
off of you.
Oh, boy.
Just wanted to
I know.
comment on the courthouse progress tour. It was interesting getting a look at that building, probably seeing some parts of that building that hadn't been seen in almost 100 years. Very pleased that this board made a commitment to preserve an important part of our history, but to also find a government purpose for it. And I think at the end of the day, when we're finished, the community will be pleased with the whole thing. And just want to thank Administrator Cordes and Karen Davis as well, too. And apparently, we have a site that you can go to see the progress
Lorain
reports.
County-
LorainCounty.us / courthouse.
Last courthouse, and those are the pictures of
Yeah,
what you saw.
LorainCounty.us / courthouse. And I guess Judge Walther especially enjoyed the tour, finding some memories from the past, seeing some of those old fireplaces, and boy, what a beautiful structure. But it's going to be nice to preserve that. Had the opportunity to represent this board at the a retirement going away gathering for Bill Bird, president of Lorain County Historical Society. A great turnout for that. Bill is just, you know, those are going to be big shoes to fill and a tough one to replace, but talk about a man who's very passionate about preserving the history of this county and promoting the history of this county. And I know I had a chance to work closely with him with the Star House when they were putting that together as the Lorain County History Center. At the time as a legislator, we were able to gather about $250,000 to be invested into that project. And remember the first time we went through the building, take a look at it, and walked out of there with my khaki pants on and had fleas all over the pants. It actually had raccoons in the building. And you know, Bill always felt terrible about that, but I always told him the important thing was that we got it done. And of course with government, a lot of paperwork he had to fill out, so he had a lot of miserable days, but at the end of the day, they got the $250,000. The Lorain County History Center is open, and Bill just has left quite a legacy here in Lorain County. We enjoyed the Lakefront Lorain County meeting at Lorain High. Boy, what a beautiful facility. If you haven't had a chance to visit the new Lorain High, it's just amazing. Great turnout for that. Some very good feedback. A lot of the focus, of course, being on things that folks in Lorain would like to see for their lakefront. And we have our next lakefront meeting tonight in Avon Lake this Wednesday night at 6 p.m. at the Avon Lake House on Lake Road.
Do you say something? Okay.
Okay. John Shondel, Lieutenant Colonel John Shondel, who formed the Honor Guard for American Legion Post 211, was honored on Saturday night, and I had the opportunity to be there to present a commendation on behalf of the board. John also serves as an Avon Lake council person. Just an amazing leader, very effective leader. They had a honor guard that needed a lot of work, and John whipped everybody into shape, even put together an instructional manual on how to do all the different honor guard ceremonies, and it was a very delightful evening. John's also very concise and clear in his comments. He was talking about, I think I've heard a version from Jim Cordes as well too, talking about, you know, when there's a problem, people want a solution. The problem is they don't want to hear what the solution is. It's something that John used to say quite often. Of course, he was tasked with the job of working on the deer population issue in Avon Lake as a council person. That's a no-win project to work on with that one. Once again, just want to thank all the partners coming together for the Drug Task Force partnership and everybody who's worked diligently on that, Jim and others. It's going to make a difference in the county, and we're looking forward to moving forward with that. The Luther Ditch hearing the other day, I thought, you know, I can't stress enough in the 2.5 years I've been here as a county commissioner, how the staff, the administration, my colleagues, we want to work with you. My experience as a new commissioner here in the first 2.5 years has been that the administration, my colleagues, we want to work with people. We go out of our way to work with people to come up with a solution that's workable for all parties involved. And I think we're going to come up with a good strategic plan for the Luther Ditch as well, too. It's going to work out for all the neighbors there. And last night, had the opportunity to attend the 7th annual Lorain County 4-H Scholarship Night. And I'll tell you what, if you want to see an impressive night of supporting students in this county, this is definitely one of those programs. Was just amazed by all the students who were able to receive scholarships and all the various families throughout Lorain County who come out to support the students. And most of these students have been in 4-H or Future Farmers of America or studying agriculture as their majors in college. But just amazing. I think the smallest scholarship was maybe $250. Most of them were $500, $600. One scholarship, they handed out $2,600 scholarships. And some of those kids, and they had to write essays, so it wasn't just like they submitted an application. They had to submit essays about where they saw themselves in 10 years, how they're going to use their education to help people. And some of those kids left with a stack of envelopes in their hands, all that scholarship money. So, and as we all know, college is expensive. So congratulations to all the students who received those awards. We have so many great, bright young minds in the county, and the future's going to be in good hands with these young individuals. And thanks to all the families for the scholarship sponsors. Just amazing. Just a very, very enjoyable evening over there at the fairgrounds. And Madam President, that completes my long report.
Okay.
Board correspondence.
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Public comment.
Anybody wishing to address the board this morning?
Gerald, you have to wear the hat.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
I thought he was in disguise.
It's classic, man. I got to tell you, it's cool.
Looks like he's from down under.
I was going to say, I thought you were doing some beekeeping there. So it looks like beekeeping.
Gerald W. Phillips, 461 Windward Way, Avon Lake, Ohio. The hat is my sales tax petitioning hat that I've been using for 2 months. Got a lot of compliments on it. It was bought in Texas. Update on the sales tax efforts. We're approaching 11,000. I have over 2,100 signatures myself. August 9th is our filing date, and we'll have enough valid, sufficient signatures. Then the next step will be for Mr. Innes to say that we don't have a right to do the initiative petition. And since it doesn't appear that we're going to reach a resolution, I guess we're headed to court. You know, we'll file a mandamus action, expedited election case. Then the Ohio Supreme Court will determine if 5739.022 allows or doesn't allow a repeal of a non-emergency sales tax increase. And the court will construe and interpret that statute. And, you know, in my opinion, it's a 50-50 toss-up. I mean, I have a better chance of winning that argument than the 7 districts. Update on the approval rating. Commissioner Kokoski, it stays the same. You're still down there with Donald Trump.
I thought we went down because the drug dealers now don't like us anymore.
Well, I don't know about that. I haven't heard
I think we
that.
went down.
My rating has gone up. There's at least 2,100 people who definitely appreciate my efforts in getting signatures to give them the right to vote. Also, I think there's a few Democrats in the county that probably think a little more highly of me because of my 7 districts efforts. Second item is the never-ending 7-district saga. On July 10th, there was a political decision by the board splitting, 2-2 vote. And then on Monday, July 31st, an even more shocking political decision. The Secretary of State, John Husted, cited and said that that petition was valid. I filed a protest on July 26th. I also filed one yesterday because I'm very concerned in light of that decision on Monday that political games are going to be played. And I'm afraid that, he'll say my July 26th protest was null and void, it's mooted, and therefore, being an experience in the legal chess game, I refile my protest. Timetable on that 7th district is Secretary of State has to act 10 days from the receipt of the protest. If he got my July 26th and July 28th, there's an August 7th deadline for him to rule. On my August 1st, if he got it on tomorrow, August 3rd, it's due on August 13th. Also, the Ohio Revised Code 307.95D says he has to make a ruling 81 days before, so his drop dead date is August 18th. Today is the 97th day before the general election. 307.95B says any protests have to be filed on or before today. One additional item that I think I talked to Mr. Innes about, and I'm going to read the statute. It says, this is 307.95A. If the petition is determined by the Board of Elections to be valid, which based on Houston's ruling is on July 31st, but the number of valid signatures is insufficient. then the Board of Commissioners shall immediately notify the committee for the petitioners who may solicit and file additional signatures to the petition pursuant to Division E of this section, or protest the Board of Elections findings pursuant to Division B of this section, or both. Therefore, the commissioners have an obligation to notify the committee, and then their right to get additional signatures occurs. And I believe, since that section I read says if the petitions are determined to be valid, that right to get additional signatures doesn't start until that determination occurred, which is on Monday the 31st. If you read the whole statute, it's not totally clear, all right, what period of time they have, other than 307.95E talks about the fact that any additional signatures must be filed no later than 70 days before the election. So there's an August 29th deadline for filing. But if you read the other sections, like 307.95D, where there's a protest, it specifically says 10 additional days. And I read all those sections. If you read them, since they're interrelated and they reference each other, under a legal principle called para material, you would construe that they have 10 additional days from the date that you send them the notification. One final point. I think it's a very, very sad day when the chief election officer in the state of Ohio makes a political decision, clearly political, and it's his duty to uphold the integrity of the election laws. Whether you're a D or an R, that's just wrong. So if he rules and denies my protest, I will be filing a writ of prohibition to keep that off the ballot. I just think that's wrong. And if for some reason he does the right thing and he keeps it off the ballot, then the committee can file a writ of mandamus, and I intend to intervene in that to make sure that the election laws in the state of Ohio are upheld. Jerry Innes knows I'm an expert in election laws, file many cases. And this isn't a D or an R issue. This is about setting a bad precedent of the election laws. And the right to vote and having things on the ballot, is really a cornerstone of democracy. So that's my report.
I do like the hat.
Just as a follow-up to that, Commissioners, I did give Teresa a letter that we do have to send out, and I told her we need to get that out today.
To the committee?
Yeah.
So that doesn't require any formal action, it's just a letter?
No, it's a,
FYI?
yeah, just so you know that it's going out and we're taking, since he mentioned it. There was one other thing I forgot to mention earlier. It was in the newspaper, but Amherst Township and the city of Amherst did pass legislation approving the JED for the Golden Acres property.
Oh, wonderful, good. Another
That takes 30 days for that
I got that late yesterday, too.
to go into effect, but I did mean to let you know that happened.
Well, that was something we initiated,
Right.
brought the parties together. I'm hopeful that that relationship now will mature down the corridor of 58 as we see development. The townships need JEDs. They need to be able to provide services. I think it's a good partnership. I really like working with the new mayor in Amherst. In fact, I'm working on a sewer agreement right now. It's for the future. It would require some changes in the facilities planning area, which we have no desire to do right now, but if something should happen in the future, we want to have an agreement in place so we can be that much further down the road should the need arise. And he's been very cooperative and very progressive in working with us, so very happy with what's going on over there.
he seemed pleasantly surprised at how we work with him too, I think.
Everybody is when they give us a chance.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, I move that we go into executive session as outlined by both the county administrator and assistant county prosecutor.
Second.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.